Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by the venerable Jason Scheer. First time we've seen you this week, Jason. How are you doing?
Splendid. My air conditioning broke again.
I was going to say, you look fairly gloomy in there.
Yeah, I'm keeping the lights, the windows closed so I don't get the sun in.
Didn't it actually break? Didn't it break a while back as well?
Yeah, there's a manufacturer's defect and the tube disintegrated. So that's good. Speaking
of which, I got a brand new fuel pump in my car for a defect on the Kia Optima. All the people out there that obviously know that Mike Luke's rolling in big money, that is proof right there, my friend. All right, Scheer, we got a lot to get to this show. We're going to talk about Jamari Phillips, you guys being ahead of the curve on there, following my lead, and we're going to talk conference realignment, Zoom Diallo, a ton of different stuff. But first, let's talk a little bit about Jamari Phillips. We got Travis Branham coming on tomorrow, and Jacob Franklin. If we could maybe play a few of those Jamari Phillips highlights, would be quite appreciated. This is a kid now that I think is fair to say that he has the potential to be a top 15 type player or a top 10 player in the country, Jason. I think the thing that has really impressed scouts this summer, I think including yourself, is the improved athleticism and the fact that he is incredibly well honed already at scoring at all three levels on the court.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that, that makes him so unique is that a lot of times in high school, scoring is forced. And for Jamari Phillips, it doesn't seem forced. Like, it comes natural. These moves that he does are really advanced. There's guys in college that can't get separation off the dribble like he can already in high school. And so when you look at his scoring ability, there's not many guys in high school right now that are better.
Well, there's not many, if any, to be honest with you. And again, that's the part that I think is very intriguing, though, is you look at him, there really isn't now. There's not really many weaknesses to his game per se. And the fact is, too, if he ends up hitting 6'4" or 6'5", or like a legit 6'5", then you really start wondering, could this be an even shorter stop in Tucson than we thought?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's still growing. If he is, and he becomes 6'5", like you're saying, he's one and done. I mean, I'll just say it right now.
Right.
That would be the expectation if he's still growing. The thing with him is
stop growing.
Yeah, stop growing. And the thing with him is, again, like, he's still getting better.
Right.
Like, that's the important thing, is that, like, again, I say this all the time. When you look at recruits, you want recruits that are still getting better, and he's one of them.
And he's one of those, and you got obviously have a really good head on the shoulders. We also got to give a big tip of the cap here to Jack Murphy and Tommy Lloyd, though, as well, because you got to remember, at the time, he was viewed as more of a top 40 type player. You had UCLA numbskulls pretending that they didn't really want him. Now, at the end of the day, Jason, this could be a top 10 player when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when I look at our rankings, it's gonna be tough. We have him at 17. Looking at it now,
Jason, Jason, you could exert a little bit of influence here. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but the thing is, like, when you look at the guards, like, he's one of the top guards in the country. Like Dylan Harper, Ian Jackson, Zoom, Boogie, and then it's him. So he's
right.
Top 5. I think he's better. I would take him over Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, well, you've always been a Zoom denier, though. We're going to get to Zoom. You've never been a big fan of Zoom Diallo. This is correct.
I like Zoom. I never said that.
UCLA numbskulls are the worst. We are going to talk about some of these UCLA numbskulls. But also, we got to give a big tip of the cap, too, to our guy Jack Murphy as well on this one. Because, again, Murph was leading this recruitment from day one. I think a lot of times people have wondered, what exactly does each coach do on here? Jack Murphy is definitely a big reason that Jamari Phillips is at Arizona.
Yes. I mean, he deserves a ton of credit, obviously. Again, we've talked about his ability to recruit. He's the number one recruiter on the coaching staff besides Tommy Lloyd. So he got the job done with him and Carter, and they, Jamari and Carter have had fantastic summers.
All right, now we got to talk a little bit about Carter Bryant, and then keep in mind we're going to get to Zoom Diallo here in just a minute. But Carter Bryant as well. I think that he could maybe move back towards kind of that top 5 status, because here's the thing. Carter Bryant is one of those truly gifted players that can clearly be as good as he wants to be. However good Carter Bryant wants to be is how good he can be. And there's very few players like that in any recruiting class, Jason. And Carter Bryant is certainly one of those dudes.
Yeah, I mean, he's had an awesome summer. You know, we've gone over, like, he didn't play well at the EYBL in Phoenix. There's no way to deny it or sugarcoat it. And then he bounces back. He was awesome at Section 7. He was awesome at Top 100. He has had a really good summer. The key to me is that, like, when we saw him in Phoenix, he wasn't aggressive at all for whatever reason. I don't know if he was sick, whatever. But, you know, since he changed high schools and we've seen him, he's super aggressive. He was the number one option on Corona Centennial, which is a really talented team. Top 100, he played really well. This is a guy where it wouldn't surprise me at all if we wind up moving him back up in the final rankings.
Well, because the whole thing with him, too, has always been just being able, playing hard, really exerting himself out there, because he's so talented that when he just kind of fits in, when he just kind of blends in, he's doing himself a disservice right there. And you look again, I think the thing that really impressed a lot of people is the passing. Passing.
Go ahead. I was going to say that his passing is it's crazy. I mean, I had never seen him pass like he did at Section 7. He looked like a 6'7" point guard. I mean, it was natural and whatever it was, it was effective. And his passing was absolutely fantastic. He blocked shots at Section 7. He played the passing lanes. That was some of the best basketball that I've seen him play. And we also got to give a big tip of the cap to Shane Diefenbach right there. The whole time we were watching, whether it was Koa Pete or Carter Bryant, you kept saying, dude, is Shane getting anything here? Shane got amazing highlights right there. That's why some of the great people, they work stealth and they work best behind the scenes, Jason. Shane Diefenbach proved that to you. Yeah, I used to remember when I had to be on the sidelines holding a big old camera, and it was obvious you were filming everything, and Shane looked like he was just chilling, and before you know it, he had all the clips.
And plus, Shane is not a small individual. Shane is like Jacob Franklin in that he's pushing about 7'2" as well. So either way, Shane, very good on those highlights. All right, now we got to talk a little bit about Zoom Diallo right here. Obviously, he's been in the news here a little bit. Just so people do know, and Kenny Abbey, we are going to get to you here in just a minute, but just so the people do know, Zoom Diallo, obviously point guard out of Northwest. Arizona's been recruiting for a long time, but there's also now been a little bit of a, some rumblings about Arizona. I have not heard these rumblings, though. And not only have I not heard the rumblings, if you're recruiting Zoom Diallo and you're accepting that commitment, you're assuming for sure that Kylan Boswell is leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I read what other people read, and it would surprise me. It just would. I have not heard a lot about it. Tommy Lloyd has not been at his games. He didn't fly to Adidas to see. If you're in the lead for a top 10 player, you'd assume Tommy Lloyd would have been at his games. He chose other games instead. Could he come to Arizona? I guess. I mean, I don't know if Arizona's out. From what I've heard from a few people, Washington probably leads for Zoom because let's just say they're backing up the Brinks truck. He's going to get
backing up the Brinks truck.
Yeah, it's legal now, man. So Washington's going to pay the crap out of Zoom Diallo, and the expectation is that the Huskies probably lead here. I
have no problem with it. As a matter of fact, I support doing that. And if you're going to back up the Brinks truck and you have enough money to back up the Brinks truck, let's talk about BetMGM first here. And then we're going to get to Kenny Abbey here. Kenny, you got me in some trouble. I had to smack somebody back. But Scheer knows. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona audience, place your first bet and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. Again, back the A on this one right here. We both like the over, Jason Scheer. We have moved the line single-handedly from 4.5 to 5.5, and it's only going north. It's not going down, correct?
Yeah, it made me a little uncomfortable when I saw that in Vegas. 5.5, I need it to stop because if it gets like 6 or whatever, I'm a little iffy. It's
all right. Well, either way, back the A, and then I got a funny story, and then we're going to get to some conference realignment talk. But let's hear Shane Diefenbach.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right. Now, got to tell you something right here. Kenny Abbey, you have an open invite to come on to the PHNX Wildcats podcast. As you know, you never got back to me. That is on you, not on me. Funny story, though. I got ripped by somebody in the U of A football department for thinking that Kenny Abbey was an employee of PHNX Sports and trying to finagle an interview. I told this person that Kenny Abbey, while a very esteemed friend, is not an employee of PHNX Sports, and this same person has not apologized to me yet. So, Kenny, either way, back the A. All right, now, let's talk a little bit of realignment here, Jason Scheer. All right, Big 12 Media Day is today, and I know it sounded like a broken record. I love Brett Yormark. Brett Yormark goes into every single situation, I feeling like, you know what? Not only am I going to get something done here, I am also going to troll the Pac-12 and some of the incompetence over there. And he did just that today, Jason Scheer.
He didn't do it too bad. His deputy commissioner, whose name escapes me right now, went on a rampage. I mean, it was awesome. He basically, I think my favorite quote was in an interview. I don't remember who it was with. He said, all I know is that here at the Big 12, if we had good news, we'd be shouting it from the mountaintops. And if you're not, it usually means there's no good news. It was like he said that. I don't know if you had heard that. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was good. I love that stuff.
What I like about Brett Yormark, though, and again, you and I don't think like our good friend Mike Lowry, I've been trying to explain this to. We love Mike. But the reason that Arizona fans, and it's not just because you and me are pushing people in this direction. Granted, we want to go to the Big 12, but there's also a lot of concern that it won't happen.
I love how powerful Pac-12 people think me and you are.
I get it all the time. Like there's a local writer in the city that said, this probably wouldn't even be happening if it wasn't for you and Scheer. That is nonsense. We are not that powerful around here. Jacob Franklin might be, but we're not. But here's kind of the thing, though, when it comes to this, is that sooner or later, stop talking, do something. We are coming up on Pac-12 Media Day, and we're starting to see a little bit of a fissure between, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
All right. We're starting to see a little bit of a parting of the ways, perhaps, between John Wilner and John Canzano, in that John Canzano is still saying, oh, you know what? Everything's great. Pac-12, they know what they're doing. They've got everything. Who cares about a timeline? Where John Wilner has now reported and said that if there isn't something at least agreed upon by Pac-12 Media Day, you start to have real concerns about the viability of the conference.
I had a major national writer, you know who it is, probably, text me this morning and said, look, Scheer, I'm sure you know this, but if there's no deal by Media Day, it's a nightmare. He said that the only way it's not a nightmare is, Apple's still hanging around and Apple could maybe bail them out at a cheaper price. All I know is this. Wilner, for a week, said if they didn't have a deal by Media Day, it was a nightmare. He would lower his odds. All bets were off. They're not going to have a deal by next Friday. It is not happening. So he, for his dignity, not his dignity, his reputation, whatever, has to stay on that path. Canzano is we're in no rush. No big deal. We're confident.
Keep in mind, Canzano, the same guy that had a media column, back in March, Pac-12 punches back on critics as closing in on a deal.
Yeah, I retweeted that. As deal nears, Pac-12 punches back. That was 4 months ago.
Oh, by the way,
when a deal happens at this point, if it's anytime within the next month, it's coming as a surprise announcement because nobody I've talked to legitimately thinks the deal's right around the corner.
It's not. And Kenny Abbey, real quick, this is not on you. This is on the person that emailed me. This was you did nothing. You did nothing wrong at all on this one. It's the person that emailed me that I snapped back at. But back to the Big 12 here, or the Pac-12. It is what it is at this point. You can't just keep saying, you can't have a statement of unity, and it can't be this overarching theme where people keep saying, or what people keep saying, where somebody like Canzano keeps saying, well, you know what? They know what's going on. They feel very comfortable. You know what else I like, too, was the comment where he was quoting Schultz, obviously, and he said, the room is shifted. Well, if the room is shifted, you've been saying for the longest time that a deal's right around the corner, everybody's on the same page. How is the room shifted if it was so flowery to begin with?
How can you say the room shifted and not say what it means? That's like me tweeting something monumental just happened. And then when everyone asks me what it is, I just ignore them.
Yeah.
And you never find out. If the room shifted for a guy like Canzano, who's so anxious to tell everyone how right he is about a deal being so close, which he said for about a year now, how do you not say what the shift is? There's no shift. There just isn't. And if you think a deal is, look, Canzano clearly thinks the deal's getting done. He would be better off just saying, you know what? I think a deal's getting done. I don't know when it is. I don't think there's a rush, but I think eventually it'll get done.
We do need to be very clear about this, though, on the show, because we're not just casting aspersions to cast aspersions. We like John Wilner. We like John Wilner on this show. Again, I think that we're a little disappointed in John Wilner, but at the end of the day, I've never once felt that he made anything up. I've never once felt any of that. We like John Wilner on the AZ Wildcats podcast, as does Jason Scheer.
Yeah, I mean, there's things I've disagreed with. I think, one of the
flowery optimism is obviously
the point spread thing where it's like, I'm going to lower it. And then randomly he chose different criteria to not lower it. But I think lately he's been realistic in saying, look, if they don't have it by media day, it's a really bad look. I just, I said for the longest time, I couldn't see how you start a football season with no deal because it's
happening, my friend.
A lot of it. It's happening. Like at this point, I would be really surprised if they have a deal before football season, which is not a good thing.
We're going to get to Krivas the Destroyer here in a minute. The other thing about this is that I want to know, where is the money? Where is the cable entity? Or where is the entity at all that's going to come up with anything even close to the 32 million mark that, keep in mind, we keep hearing they're confident that they will beat?
I think their goal is to get within 28 million, because I think if they get to 28 million, they could spin it. I don't see how, with a legitimate linear option, they beat that 32. I think the ideal scenario is that Apple does it, buys them up, lets them sublease a game here and there to a major network on a Thursday night, or Friday night, whatever it may be, and they get to 28 million. I think they would spin that as a win. They sign a data deal like the Big 12 is going to do here soon for gambling and all that. They get to 32 million that way, and they say, oh, you know what? That's a victory.
All right. By the way, Scheer, Tap and Bottle. I am going to be at Tap and Bottle this Saturday, pressing the flesh, hanging out with the people. Scott and Rebecca are having their 6th year anniversary, not for them, but for the Tap and Bottle establishment on the Northwest location. Come hang out with me, Kenny Abbey. That is an invite to you. I know you got a new gig, so no pressure there. But love to see you up there. Guess what? Might be drinking a little bit of Four Peaks. I hung out at Tap and Bottle this past weekend as well. So again, would love to be able to see you up there. Tap and Bottle. All right. Oh, and you know what? Since I just said it, the Four Peaks. We're going to talk about the Four Peaks in a second, and Frank Caliendo, who has given me some inside information that, it's not inside information. It's something that everybody knows. But first, Four Peaks, the official brew of PHNX Sports. Check out Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks. Please drink responsibly. Jacob Franklin. Many people associate Jacob Franklin, the great Jacob Franklin, as one of the Four Peaks. They are wrong. Just because he is tall enough to be one of the Peaks doesn't mean he is. Speaking of the Peaks, bigger fish, and then we're going to get to on the court. Do we have any update on Dylan Anderson's bike?
I have not heard anything. We have people in the streets. Look, he has an NIL deal with a bike company, whatever, a bike shop. They need to get this done. The people need to watch out. It should be pretty obvious if someone stole a 7-footer's bike, right?
Well, right. And here's the thing, too. I keep getting people nonstop that are saying, Mike, you're clearly the one that stole Dylan Anderson's bike. No, I'm not the one that stole Dylan Anderson's bike. Now, I might put a tracking device on the bike. I am not the one that is looking to steal Dylan Anderson's bike.
I just know this. You are watching Dylan Anderson 24/7. And the minute you stop watching Dylan, his bike gets stolen. I don't think you did a good enough job.
I know. I was going to say, Dylan, I do apologize. We need to put an ankle bracelet on me next time for that. All right. Krivas. Montijus Krivas. By the way, whoever came up with Mount Krivas, I like that name a great deal. Scheer, I take the international play with a grain of salt, but he looks absolutely fantastic right now. You hyped Henry Vasar as a one and done, and Krivas destroyed a possible one and done in Henry Vasar last year. This is correct.
Yeah. I believe I posted a scouting report that people still refer to from a international scout that said Krivas made Vasar his daddy.
Look at Scheer, Jason Scheer, international scout right there. I like it.
He's good, man. Like the thing with him watching him, and I know it's international. Like I know it doesn't always carry over. I've watched Adema Ball dropped like 19 points today, by the way.
I have not given up on Adema Ball, by the way. I have not given up on him.
I mean, he's played pretty well. I think he had like 16 the other night, or maybe I'm reversing it. But the thing that gets me is like if you watch highlights from him today, he's super smooth. He has a move where he beats a guy baseline off a spin move and dunks it. And I know that's big for you as guys. You don't think any European can dunk.
Sure.
But there's things like a head fake in the lane when a guy's trying to block his shot. He's got an advanced skill set. He is going to be good. Arizona is much higher on Krivas and Morauskas than I think people think.
By the way, where can I get a Mike Luke bobblehead? Those do not exist yet. But you know what? I would contact Jacob Franklin, our esteemed IT person behind the scenes, at Jacob for Franklin or Jacob _ Franklin for. Find out Jacob Franklin. He's the one that can put you in touch with possibly getting a Mike Luke bobblehead. By the way, Jacob, where are you? Jacob, hop in here for a second. Come on. All right, looks like Jacob's just lounging right there. I like it. But Krivas, though, really, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see what he does, though, because you can't play Krivas and Diallo at the same time unless you basically just want to, I mean, I guess maybe just bludgeon someone into submission, which would actually be kind of cool. But I don't see a ton of position flexibility there. Now, bigger question is, can we make this happen so that Dylan Anderson is the stretch 4 at this point? You've seen the videos of Dylan Anderson shooting, Scheer.
Have we considered a lineup where Dylan plays the 3?
Like his dad envisioned.
Like his dad envisioned Krivas at the 4 and Umar at the 5?
I mean, I don't know that isn't a possibility. Do we know that that's not a possibility?
I think when Tommy Lloyd has his next presser, that's got to be, the first question. And we're not talking a lengthy period of time.
Right. All right.
Dylan at the 2 with Kashad Johnson at the 3.
By the way, true. By the way, what did you think of Muehlbach? I thought made an interesting point. And when I was asking Muehlbach yesterday, I said, what about this year's team makes you think that they're going to be better than last year's team? And he said, it's quite simple. You have people that can dribble the ball. And he said it's much, I mean, it's tough to say, but he said, and he used Jaden Bradley as an example. There was something like where Jaden Bradley, like 100 and something, I can't even remember, some astounding amount of his shot attempts were within like 6 feet of the basket or something like that. Kirk Risa never took a shot within 6 feet of the basket, nor did Courtney Ramey. So that obviously is going to be a little bit of a turn before we even get to Caleb Love or Kylan Boswell.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 point guards. Like Jaden Bradley is 100% a point guard. He started for Alabama until the shooting incident and all that distracted him. He can handle the ball. You put him next to Kylan Boswell, Caleb Love, you can get 3 ball handlers on the court at the same time. It is a big deal when you have a guy like Jaden Bradley who could get into the lane and draw defenders to make other guys' lives easier. Kirk Risa, well, I'm not saying he couldn't dribble. He could clearly dribble. I think you could count on one hand the amount of times he drove into the lane.
Right.
Because that just wasn't his game. Jaden Bradley is the opposite. He's trying to draw fouls and get to the rim. You can debate what style you want and all that, but I think it'll make everything easier offensively for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a big proponent of the smaller lineup right there and bringing the Swedish pinball off the bench. Swedish pinball, Pelle Larsson. By the way, Jacob Franklin, if we could bring up this roster. By the way, Paulie M is still not on there. I will get on this. But that's also why I am a big advocate, though, of the three-guard lineup right there, because I think it makes everybody's life so much easier, especially when you have somewhat of a limitation at power forward. If you've got Boswell, Bradley and Love, and then Pelle Larsson as well, obviously. But you have two guys or three that can make plays off the bounce. That is something we did not have at all last year.
Yeah, I'm tired of your Pelle Larsson disrespect. My guy's going to average 10 and more points and more rebounds than he did last season.
Our guy Jervis Williams said yesterday that he's going to be Christian Brown. Do you go this far? Not Christian Braun, Christian Brown.
But Christian Brown, he didn't average that much in college.
Did it look the same to you?
Hey, did he average that much in college?
Scheer, that's not what I asked you. Did it look the same to you?
Doesn't matter how it looks. He averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds on 44% shooting.
What did he do in the national title game?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think he played really well, actually. I could be wrong on that, but I think he played. Jesse Johnson, welcome in here. T. Bird said Mike wanting Dylan at the 3 to push Philly B out. That is not true.
No, you got Philly at the 1 in that lineup.
Dude, why can't we put Philly at the 2?
Well, because you would have Dylan at the 2 with Kashada.
We're putting Dylan in the backcourt, not even.
Why can't we have Kylan, Philly B, Dylan, Krivas, and Ballo? I don't see the issue.
Can you imagine that? That would be absolutely astounding right there.
It would be the worst. It'd be weird. Kylan would just throw the ball at the rim, tell everyone to crash, and let's just see what happens.
And just do what we're going to do right here. Philly B will start next season, according to Mike Luke. I'm not going that far, but you know what? If Philly B ever starts at the U of A, Jason Scheer and I will apologize. This is correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so
the Philly B Conrad. That's going to be a hot argument,
dude. That is going to be a very, very hot debate. Now let's look at how this team then matches up and throughout the rest of the conference right here. I am definitely of the opinion now that this is a 3-team race in the conference. This is going to be Arizona, who, if I had to bet, I would pick Arizona to win the conference. Jason Scheer, you actually have a vote. This is correct.
No, I don't have a vote for basketball. They don't.
It was rescinded.
I have a vote for. Do I? No, yeah, I do have a vote for basketball. I don't have a vote for football. That's what it is. I have a vote for basketball. My bad.
All right. Well, either way, I believe it's Arizona, Oregon, and USC. We'll get to all those. I'll believe Colorado when I see it. I don't think that Tad Boyle is as bad a coach as everybody else does, but Tad Boyle to me is the epitome of meh.
Colorado can't score enough to win the conference. They're not even in my consideration.
Right. Yeah. Colorado now, again, they have your guy. They obviously have Cody Williams. Great. The great Cody Williams, by the way, who did not play well in the FIBA U19, but nobody played well for that team. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that.
All right. UCLA, I think they've just lost too much, to be honest with you. And I think there's way too many question marks about this team.
Yeah, I like UCLA. I think it's tough for international players to come in and play the defense and the style that Cronin's going to want. They've got individual talent. I'm not as high on their backcourt as you are. They're one of these teams where if things go wrong,
you think Dylan Andrews sucks, correct?
I'm not a big fan of him. Yeah, to me, it's one of these teams where if things go wrong, it could get really bad. But if things go right, they could be a pretty good team.
All right, so we don't buy them. We don't buy Colorado, and the rest of the teams in the conference generally don't care about basketball. To a certain extent, ASU does, but you got a president that really doesn't care about basketball, and Michael Crow. I still can't get over that comment by Crow where he said, "What do you mean? It looks good enough to me." Yeah. Wells Fargo is not or is it still Wells Fargo?
I don't know. It's the worst arena I've been in the conference, though. I'm sure there's some that are worse.
Gill is pretty bad as well. I've been to Gill. It was awful. Oregon State fans out there. I haven't had any Oregon State fans hop in here yet. But let's talk now about how Arizona matches up with SC. You think Andy Enfield sucks. I don't. But we think from a coaching's perspective, the Tommy Gunn is better. Desert Financial Arena. Ugh, yuck. Thank you, Jacob Franklin. But
Jacob yelling at you there. That was big font and everything.
Dude, look, can you see Jacob?
I saw on the bottom it said Desert Financial. He was yelling at you basically.
Dude, check this out. There he is.
Oh my
Jacob
God,
Franklin.
living life. Jeez.
Do you have a cat over your shoulder? Where are you? Oh, all right. I'm gonna get yelled at for that. But so let's talk SC though. SC to me is fascinating because you've got Isaiah Collier at the point. He's a one and done, obviously. You got Boogie Ellis. I'll probably draw the ire of some Arizona fans right here, but to me, that's a better backcourt right now than Jaden Bradley and Kylan Boswell.
It's close, man. Like,
would you rather have Isaiah Collier or would you rather have Kylan Boswell?
I don't know. I think it's close. I like Isaiah Collier. I've said this. He's not what people think he is. He's not.
So he's a top 5 pick. That's not what people think he is.
He's not a top 5 pick.
Everybody has him as a top 5 pick.
He can't. He has trouble scoring. You're going to see it in college.
All right. So you don't like it now. Boogie Ellis or Jaden Bradley?
I would take Boogie.
All right. But then after that, it gets interesting because then you got Bronny.
Rothstein has Bronny coming off the bench.
I saw that. I don't know that. We're going to get to the TJ McConnell trade here in a second. But I don't know that I buy LeBron's kid coming off the bench. I'll believe that one when I see it. Was it Rothstein that also had Kylan Boswell coming off the bench?
Yeah, I don't buy it. I think if Bronny's kid is at any school, he's starting.
Yes, for sure.
I just can't imagine having LeBron's kid come off the bench.
That's not going to happen. But then up front, too, you got a lot to like. You've got DJ Rodman. You've got Joshua Morgan, our guy Vince the Prince, Kobe Johnson on the perimeter as well. There's a lot to like about that team, and I think you could make the case that it might be his most talented team. Now, I think a lot of people would probably take when you got the 2 Mobley brothers, but it's a pretty talented team right there, Scheer.
Yeah, I think you have to say that he is. I think USC is a favorite roster-wise to win the conference. I think they'll get the most votes in the preseason poll, and the expectations are that Andy Enfield wins the conference, top 2, if you want, and makes a decent run in the NCAA tournament.
And that's what you're expecting.
Sure, I think if you have that talented of a roster, you should absolutely be able to do that.
All right, now let's talk about real quick here Shady Rays. Now, you might look at Jason Scheer and say, is it possible to get any cooler than Jason Scheer? Look at that guy right there. It's not. It's not possible, but the only way that you could possibly do this is with Shady Rays, just like Jacob Franklin. I'm sure Jacob Franklin has a pair of Shady Rays as well. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving up their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code word PHNX for 50% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses, not polarizing sunglasses. Polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by everyone. 5 of a Kind Media. Is Bryce James any good? I don't know that. Scheer, what are you hearing?
I've seen him like 5 times. I think Bronny is considerably better now. They're way different players, but Bronny wasn't that good as like a sophomore either, and then he kind of turned into a really good player. But I'm not a big Bryce fan, to be honest. I don't think he's very good.
Right. All right. Arizona, Oregon. This is where it gets fascinating because
Gonzalo just dropped another article. I'm going to try to read it.
Yeah, try to read it while we get. Read that.
It'll be worth the wait.
Ooh, I like it. That would actually work if there hadn't been about 40 of these articles over the past year. Let's talk a little bit now about Arizona and Oregon. Oregon, and again, Stat Freak's going to get mad at me about this. Oregon has the best big man in the conference. N'Faly Dante is better than Umar Ballo, leader of men. Leader of men, be as it may. Scheer, would you agree with this?
Yeah, I love Umar, but I think Dante's just different with the athleticism and all that.
Right, but then it gets fascinating. You look at the rest of the front court right there with Arizona. You've got Keyshawn Johnson. You've also got all the players that we mentioned. Dylan Anderson. I'm going to make Dylan Anderson the first big off the bench, even though it's probably not going to happen. You got Mount Krivas. You got Vaser. And then over at Oregon, you've got higher rated kids, but not maybe as many, and Nate Biddle and in KJ Evans. And the post positions, it's very interesting right there. I give a slight edge to Oregon, but not a huge edge here.
Yeah, I mean, I like Oregon. It's just it's a matter of like how that roster is going to fit together. Like we've seen Dana Altman bring in a bunch of talent, right? And it just doesn't mesh. Like there's guys on their team that as individuals I think are pretty solid, but as a team I just don't know how it's all going to fit together. Like Arizona, I really like how that roster fits together.
Right.
USC,
Wait a second, even with Caleb Love.
Yeah, I get it, right? USC, I think the roster fits well together. I question how they're going to score, but it fits well together when you go down the line. Oregon, I don't know. Like the upside is there, but the downside is definitely there as well.
Okay, now let's Jacob Franklin, you could have just hopped in here and asked this, but yes, only Wink is left right there. So let's look in the backcourt then, because that's been a big T. Burns. Altman is a Steve Lavin with the Final Four. Dude, get out of here.
I will say this: if he doesn't win this year, I really wonder what he does.
Yeah, you don't take that besmirchment though, do you, Jason Scheer?
No, I'll take Dana. I'm not even as big of a Dana fan as you, but clearly better than Lavin. All
right, now in the backcourt, it's fascinating then because Will Richardson was good, but Will Richardson was also a weenie. When you needed Will Richardson to be good, Will Richardson generally was looking for someone else. He's gone, obviously. Then you bring in Jackson Shellstat, somebody that 24/7 has as a top 25 point guard in the entire country. Jackson Shellstat, Kylan Boswell. I'm taking Kylan Boswell. Big reason why is because he's got a year of maturity under his belt. I'm taking Kylan Boswell there, but I am intrigued by Jackson Shellstat.
I think Shellstat's really good. True story, Arizona probably, had they not landed Kylan Boswell, there's a very good chance they would have been able to land Shellstat in that class.
Even from Peyton Pritchard's high school, huh?
Yeah, they were very much in it. Murph did a great job there. But I think Shellstat's really good. And he went up the rankings high, kept going up the rankings. He's good. I like him. I would take Boswell, but it would not surprise me if Shellstat has a really good freshman season.
Here's where I think, though, that Arizona has a big advantage, though. I have a lot more faith, though, in the next three in whatever order you want to put it, Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, and Pella Larson, as opposed to Jermaine Couisnard, Cario Aquino, your guy, and Mookie Cook.
Yeah, I think Arizona has a big advantage there. Big. Aquino can't shoot. I know you love him. He's your favorite player. Mookie Cook, you don't really know what you're getting out of him. And then who's the other one? Cuisinart, I like to call him.
Yeah, he stinks. He'll have a good game here or there, but whatever.
He dropped 80 against Arizona, and then the next game he dropped 3. He's capable. You just don't know what you're going to get from him.
You know who he's like? He's like a Bobby Hurley type player. One game I can get you 30, then you won't hear from me for 3 weeks after that. But I like Arizona. Now, you are starting to warm a little bit. This is true. You are starting to warm a little bit to Caleb Love.
Yes. Because when I had Tommy Lloyd explain it to me, I got where he was coming from. I really did.
Did he say the exact same thing that I've been telling you for about 4 months?
Yeah. His rationale is basically he thought that Arizona was really good without Love, but in order to win a title, you need players like Caleb Love. And I completely understand that, and it could go really poorly. But if you get one of these 30-point games in the tournament from Caleb Love, and you go on a run, whenever we look at the tournament and who wins, a lot of times it's whatever team has the hottest player at the time, not the best team. UConn was the best team, but there's been plenty of years before where it's who's playing the best basketball. And if Caleb Love plays really well, like he did for Carolina in the tournament, things happen. And I think that like last year, Arizona didn't have that player. And I've said this before, Arizona last year against Princeton had a bunch of dudes that looked like they didn't want to touch the basketball.
Correct.
Caleb Love will literally never look like that.
Caleb Love wants the basketball, even if you don't want him to have the basketball.
Yes.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get to TJ McConnell here in just a second, by the way. But first, Wink. Check out drinkwink.com. And by Wink, it is WYNK. And Countdown Drink. To utilize their drink finder to locate a store near you can order directly online, Wink only, in the 2.5 milligram cans. This is what's really cool about it. This is a seltzer with THC involved in it, Jason Scheer. And how high will you get? Just a wink. Get it? Get it? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Balanced, light, and special. Check it out. Wink. Drinkwink.com.
Mike, I have great news for you. You're going to laugh at this. This just came down the wire. You ready?
Yeah.
The CW network has bought rights to 50 ACC football and basketball games through 2027. The CW has got college athletics, baby. Now, if the Pac-12 signs with the CW, it won't be the first.
And I'll tell you what, it sounds like the CW is probably taking the Pac-12's inventory before they even get started. No, that's fantastic.
Cincinnati on CW. Yep, exclusive broadcast rights to 50 ACC football and basketball games each season.
Do you think they're not even interested anymore in the Pac-12?
I don't know. 28 men's, 9 women's, featured in December, January, and February. Double headers for basketball every Saturday, women's every Sunday. I like it. And it is just funny, though, that this happens with every other conference, these announcements, except the conference that we cover. Great question here. Five of a Kind Media. Hey, Mike, I know it's off topic. Nothing's off topic on this part. But have you seen the campaign TJ McConnell trade? Interesting. I would love TJ McConnell. I think TJ McConnell in the desert would be all kinds of cool. It would give you a really good, steady backup point guard. I'm all for bringing him in, Scheer. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big. I ride or die for TJ. Put him on any team in the league, and I think that team is better. I'm not a big campaign guy.
I'm not either. I don't really like the name campaign just because it's campaign. But
what does he do? He shoots threes, but other than that, like, what does he do?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Also, I'm actually advocating, and again, this will be bad for me. I'm advocating getting rid of Ayton and bringing in TJ McConnell, not in a straight up trade. But I do believe, though, that if you get rid of one of the A's, you got to bring in another A.
Well, it'd be the Ayton whatever for McConnell and Miles Turner.
Yeah, which I would do that trade every day of the week because first of all, here's my thing with Ayton. Ayton is obviously very, very good. I'm not saying he's not. But we're a pretty long way into his career now, and there's way too many times where it looks to me like he just doesn't care. That's what I can't really put up with as a fan. I don't care if there's been promises. I don't care what the deal has. If I'm watching you in the playoffs and it looks like you don't want to be there, then I got to get rid of you. It's just that simple.
And the thing is, it's been like that since high school. You know, I used to watch him in high school, and we thought it was him being bored because he was just so much better. And you're like, he'll go to college. And we saw in college there were games where it was disgusting. I mean, like some of the best performances you've seen. And then the next game is like you didn't even want to be playing basketball.
You know what the microcosm for Ayton was to me was that Oregon game after all the nonsense reports came out. That first half, he looked like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then in the second half, it was like he looked like me.
Yeah, I mean, when DeAndre Ayton plays hard for every minute of him, that's what, like, he would literally be one of the best NBA players of all time. Correct. I'm not talking like top 10. I'm talking top whatever. But he is that good. Like, I've seen some of the best individual performances in high school, whatever I saw, was from DeAndre Ayton. And then you'd go and watch him again, and it was like, what are we doing here?
Was it like when you first got your first glimpse of Cody Williams up close?
Yo, admit this for the people. After his USA performance, you're a little nervous.
I'm not nervous at all. I won that one.
College coach benched him.
I already won that bet.
No, you didn't.
Of course I did.
Guys, Mike's argument is you offer a guy even if he sucks.
No, here's how I won. We both watched Cody Williams, and your company sided with me as well, 24/7 Sports. They watched Cody Williams as well, and they came away saying that's a top 5 player. I came away saying that Tommy Gunn would offer him. You would say, I don't know, you got to see more.
If Cody Williams is not good in college, I win over you, and I win over Tommy Lloyd. I win over 24/7 on 3 rivals. I win.
We need Bruce to ask this question. If what he thinks about Cody Williams and if he regrets the way the recruitment was handled. Do you think Bruce would ask that?
Yes, absolutely. I can say when Arizona plays Colorado, I think Bruce will ask that. It won't be just like that, but it'll be pretty damn similar.
By the way, just so everybody out there knows, we're trying. Everybody's been asking about the Dylan Anderson bike. We have Bruce on. We've had Bruce. We've texted Bruce and we told him you should probably ask about the bike at some point there. So Bruce Pascoe was on this. It just depends on how far Bruce wants to take it.
I'm trying to get Netflix on the new season of Unsolved Mysteries to open up with Dylan Anderson's bike.
Wait a second. Is there a new net? No, you were just saying.
Was the second season good? I never watched it.
Nah, the second season wasn't nearly as good. Plus, I didn't like I don't like the UFO ones. Those do nothing for me.
Best episode was the dude in the hotel.
Oh, where he falls off the top?
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah. That one was great, too. And I love, too, about how the friend who just all of a sudden would not talk with him or anybody in the media. Could you be any more guilty right there? Plus, that hotel was a kick-ass hotel. It was in, like, Baltimore.
Yeah. We should say that.
I like it. All right, Scheer. We're going to sign off here. We've done yeoman's work, me more so than you. But at the same time, where can they find Jason Scheer? What kind of hot flash deals do you have going on, or whatever you call them?
Hot flash.
Isn't that what you call it?
Wildcatauthority.com, 60% off. This is the last day. I'm also at Jason Scheer on Twitter. Shelby and I have a podcast, Wildcat Scoop Podcast. And Mike, I'm going to a Don Toliver concert tonight.
Are you really?
Yeah, with Aurora. Me and Aurora at Don Toliver.
By the way, Scheer, we need you to step in right here. Brad Rich, this is slander at its highest level. Nobody is asking about that damn bike. That is not true.
Are you kidding me right now?
This bike, this
what?
I do like your
lately. Like that's all the people are talking about.
Brad Rich, come on. We've already taken you to task for having two first names. By the way, hey, you know who else has two first names? And I just realized this, and I don't know how I didn't just realize this.
Who?
Jacob Franklin.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Jervis Williams right here. Jervis, we appreciate you, buddy. We gave Jervis a shout out earlier, by the way, with the Christian Brown comparison right there. Scheer likes it, Jervis, so we're going to go with that. But he says, I am invested in this story. Everybody is invested in the Dylan Anderson story. We need to get I don't know how a GoFundMe would work. Now, you know what? This needs to be grassroots, not GoFundMe. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we got this. We're going to the streets, the people.
Okay. All right. I got to run here, but we will talk with you tomorrow. We got Travis Branham, lead 24/7 analyst, the best recruiting site going, only your one-stop shop, 24/7 sports. I am your host, Mike Luke, PHNX Wildcats, your one-stop shop, because you can get Jason Scheer amongst many others here. For Scheer, I'm Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.